my superheroes are Thor and Loki. Although, let's just admit, Loki is more of a supervillain than a superhero. But they live in the mythical city of Asgard, as you can see behind me, where their father Odin is the king. So Thor is the oldest of the two, and he is the god of thunder. And he likes to call down lightning strikes on his enemies when he is cornered. And his half-brother Loki, well, let's just say that, he's the god of mischief, because he can cause a lot of trouble for people. And Thor can actually be seen as kind of reckless by his dad, but he also looks forward to becoming king of the city of Asgard. And his weapon of choice is really cool. It's a hammer called Mjolnir. And hey, I actually have it here. You guys want to see it? It's kind of heavy, but it's also really cool. So let me pick it up real quick. There, I got it. It is heavy, but this is what he uses to call down the lightning strikes. So he just kind of raises it up over his head and says something, and the lightning comes down. But can I put it down because it's kind of heavy. There we go. So Loki, he actually wants to be the king of Asgard. He kind of wants the hammer, but Thor has it. So he tricks Thor into attacking one of their enemies, and when Odin finds out, Thor is banished to the earth. And his hammer, it gets stuck in the ground. So the only way that they can get the hammer back is when Thor is actually deemed worthy or deserving to have it again. So these two brothers remind me of a couple brothers found in the Bible. Whoa, I didn't know I could do that. That was kind of cool. So as you guys can see, I'm actually here at the Sea of Galilee to tell you guys the story of James and John. And they really remind me of Thor and Loki because of this nickname that Jesus had given to them. The nickname was Boanerges. Do you guys know what that means? The word might be popping up here on the screen below me, but it means sons of thunder. And the reason that Jesus gives them this nickname, because they wanted to call down fire from heaven on this Samaritan village. And the reason they wanted to do that was because the villagers would not let them stay because they were on their way to Jerusalem. In this story, James and John have a tendency to be selfish and have outbursts of anger, as you can see from calling down fire from heaven. And this story is found in Luke 9, verses 51 to 62. James and John can also be very blunt, like some of you guys. And we find in Matthew chapter 20 that James and John, they actually have the nerve to get their mom to ask Jesus if they can have a special position in heaven with him. And what do you guys think the other disciples thought when they heard this question that was asked by James and John? Maybe they made fun of them, or maybe they were kind of annoyed that they didn't think of this question before they did. But Jesus taught them a lesson that they would never forget about serving other people. Other than having the nickname Sons of Thunder, that's really the only thing that James and John have in common with Thor and Loki. You see, James and John, they were just lowly fishermen, but they were among the first people who were called to follow Jesus. And when Jesus calls them, they actually leave everything. They left their nets, they left their boats, and they even left their dad. They just left him sitting there in the boat. And all of this was to follow Jesus. And both of them, along with Peter, were in Jesus' inner circle, meaning that they actually got some extra teaching from Jesus himself. And John, he went on to write 5 books of the New Testament, including the Gospel of John and Revelation. And James was actually the first of the disciples to die for believing and following in Jesus. To wrap up today, I would like to read you the story of Jesus actually calling James and John, found in Mark 1, verses 19 and 20, and it says, "A little further up the shore, Jesus saw Zebedee's sons," that's James and John, "and Jesus saw them in the boat repairing their nets. He called them at once, and they also followed him, leaving their father Zebedee in the boat with the hired men." So how many of us would actually do the same thing that James and John did? How many of us would drop everything to follow Jesus? And I know Thor and Loki are these great warriors, and they're these mythical gods. But to me, James and John are the real superheroes.